I just want to share something with you that I believe we all could benefit from. And that is, I want to share with you some stories of when I was a kid on how I would be publicly humiliated and how it affected me as an adult. Now, before I go directly into like my stories, I want to share this with you. First of all, I'm Jackson, your platform partner, your hustling homie, all about action, addicted to making things happen. Subscribe to the page. And I'm a big believer in if you want to be more successful and reach your full potential in life, it pays to be healthy. And I'm talking about mentally, physically, socially, and today it's going to be emotionally. So I want to talk to you. There's probably some wounds or something from your childhood that maybe haven't been addressed. And those could be some of the worst wounds because you can't see them. It's like bleeding internally. If you don't know that you're hurt and suffering from it, that's almost the worst type of scar to have, period. And I work in sales. I'm constantly dealing with people. I'm in the public. I do a lot of public speaking, international public speaking champion. I'm surviving and provide for my family based on my ability to communicate with people and sell. I got to go out there in public and take on rejection. Sometimes I got to go on stages, whether it be social media or on a stage in front of 6,000 people and sell people or inspire them. So you would think that communication comes easy to me. But actually, no, I've my whole life I've been very afraid to communicate. And in fact, this is why a lot of my struggles came from. A lot of my financial struggles would come because I was afraid to go out and sell. And so because there would be times I was afraid to open my mouth and tell people what I was doing or I was fearing rejection, it would result in me being 90 days or 6 months behind on my rent going to court because I'm being evicted, or my car being repossessed, or not being able to provide football uniforms for my son because I'm not bringing in the bacon because I'm afraid to sell, And when I think about it, I say, why am I afraid to sell? Why am I afraid to communicate publicly sometimes when I know I have the ability to do it? And I thought about it and it hit me about things that happened in my childhood, how I was humiliated so many times. Now, I could talk to you all day about how many times I was like humiliated. I'm not talking a small, like I'm embarrassed. No, I'm talking like traumatized as a kid publicly. I can talk to you about it. I can tell you dozens of stories. But today, because we don't have a lot of time, I'm going to just focus on like two main areas. The first area was my mom. And I love my mom, great mom. But when I was a kid, when I was born, my mom was 17. So she had low patience. I was her first child, only child. And so she would work all the time. And so because she was busy working, she wanted to make sure that she instilled fear in me because I was alone. My father went there. A lot of times I was at home by myself the entire day when I got out of school. And so my mom wanted me to be afraid to do something. So, meaning to do something bad while she wasn't around. So the result would be she would whoop my ass publicly. I'm not talking with a belt. I'm talking about with them hands. Fuck me up. So I'll give you a couple of examples. And I was thinking about this today, man. Like I can remember a time when I was at a family reunion, 13 years old. At this family reunion, now it's about 100 people there. And I said something. Now, I had a smart mouth. I don't know what I said, but my mom literally just started punching me in the face, giving me gunshots to the stomach. Boom, 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 boom. I'm like, oh, shit. Like, people had to pull her off of me. Like, everybody in the front of the unit. We had a bar, inside of a bar. Like, literally, everybody's looking like the DJ stopped the music and everything. Like, hey, somebody do something about this. Like, it was bad. You know what I mean? Mother felt sorry for me. Remember, I'm like a little kid, too. I'm already quiet. I'm already, like, skinny and shit. So, I would get fucked up. I can remember I was in school, south side of Chicago, John Hope. I had a teacher named Miss House. She was 26 years old, beautiful, sexy. And she used to talk with the students. I'm in 8th grade, so I'm 13. She would talk to me and my friends like we were her age because I was cool. I was a cool guy. And so she would talk to us about people she was dating and sex. And Yeah, I said sex. She would talk to us about not. She would talk about somebody she was dating, and so one day she showed me her ID. This is the teacher. I looked at her ID and she had makeup all over her face, and I remember I was like, man, you look like a prostitute on this picture. I wasn't even trying to offend my teacher. It was just like a jerk reaction, and yeah, she treated me like a jerk. She was like, "Oh, you want to be a jerk? I'm gonna tell your mama." Man, why she tell my mama? My mama just happened to be coming up to the school that day, and oh my mama, literally, oh my mama whooped my ass in front of everybody. Now remember, I'm 13. All you hear is boom, 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 and I'm not talking about with a belt. Remember, I'm talking them hands. My mama would hand out motherfucking hands like it was Halloween candy. All right. And I'm talking about lip be busted. Like, it was to the point where nowadays the police would stop that. You know what I mean? Police, but shit, back then, she whipped my ass in front of the police. And I'm talking about 30, 40 classmates just watching me, getting my ass whooped. All the girls that like me, I'm getting hit on the locker, like she throwing me against the locker. Like, you remember, it's Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will Smith. They used to throw Jazzy Jeff out of the window, out of the house. My mom was throwing me into the locker rooms like Jazzy Jeff. She was like, I was like, oh, boom, hitting lockers and shit. Like, it was crazy. It was crazy. I can remember so many situations where I would be humiliated. I remember one time, I mean, my mom used to always whip my ass, like off GP. You know, so I can give you so many stories about me just getting whooped, whether it was at school, family reunion, it was a holiday when I said something crazy, you know, as a little kid, not even knowing what I'm saying, and it results in them hands. But I can even remember being in school, like fourth grade, and it was a song called Whoop That Is. Whoop That Is. Well, shaka laka, shaka laka, shaka, whoop. That's how the song used to go. So I was performing this for a talent show, and I didn't even know the song. But the week of the talent show, they was like, Jackson, you should be in the talent show. I was like, I ain't never did nothing on stage. I'll do it. And so they said, we're going to lip sync Whoop That Is. Cool. I didn't even know the words. So I went on stage and I started, Whoop That Is, yeah. And I forgot the words. And the entire class, I mean, the whole school, we're talking about 800 people, is all looking at me. And it was so bad where they didn't even clap. They just looked. And they just looked to the side of the stage like, come on, you know what to do. We don't know what the hell that was. But go that way. Go. Get up. Like, they couldn't even give me it was like one person that was like, you heard that one clap in the room. And so when I would get humiliated, it would always be where I was the focus of the attention. It was never like a minor humiliation. It was major humiliation where there's hundreds and hundreds of people that are watching me and I'm either bombing or I'm getting bombs dropped on my head, you know. And so that traumatized me as a kid. And it got to the point where I was afraid to almost speak. You know, I was already a shy kid because, you know, I had other levels of abuse that I didn't want to talk about. But I was already shy. So that really made me afraid to express myself because I didn't want to be embarrassed in front of people. I always felt, you know, I could communicate one-on-one, but as soon as other people started looking at me, I was worrying about what they were going to say because I'm sensitive, like meaning I absorb energy around me, which makes me a good artist. It makes me a good creator, a good salesperson because I have empathy. I could feel if you say happy or excited, and then I can take that and give it back to you, you know, and my music. So, like, you know, so as well, I use it in music. But my point is, so all of the humiliation I would get would be amplified when I had hundreds of eyes watching me being humiliated. And so, you know, this was kind of resulted in me being afraid to communicate as an adult. I was either afraid to sell, so I didn't sell, and because I was afraid of the rejection in a very traumatizing way. In some cases, when I thought I wasn't afraid, I would overcompensate and I would overly communicate to act like, oh, I'm not scared to communicate, and that will work against me too, instead of just letting it naturally flow. So, you know, this was something I had to realize was traumatized. Now, the second part, I know that was a lot I just told you, but that was just the first part. That was kind of like my family, my mom. The second part of the humiliation when it comes to publicly because I grew up in the 80s. In the 1980s, well, I was born in 1984. So I really grew up in the 90s, right? But in the 90s, and living on the south side of Chicago, I live in a community called Inglewood, was the hood. And in Inglewood, every house, every block had one house that this one house would be the house where you don't want to go. It would always be everything would happen. People was either there was a drug house, the police was always there. It was that one. It was the most ghetto house in the hood. That house was always next door to me as a kid. Wherever I moved to, it was always the house next door had the most attention. So I grew up laying like as a kid where outside of my window, I'm laying down at night going to sleep. All I hear outside of my window as a 4-year-old, 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 8-year-old is people up to 3 in the morning fighting. I'm hearing people literally getting their head busted with hammers, drive-by shootings, just all sorts of violence that would happen. I mean, it would be 100, literally, like I'm not lying when I say I lived in Inglewood. So it was two places. One was 57th over by Halsted, Low, Emerald. You familiar with John Hope area in the 90s? Yeah, that way. Second area was it was on 51st and Loomis. They call that Motown. Man, in Motown, I'm trying to tell you, the dude that was the chief, his family stayed right next door to me. So it used to go down. When I say it would be 50 people out there every day. So the level of, what's the word I'm looking for? Dysfunction and trauma, like I would see it all. I would hear it all right out my window, or as soon as I walk outside, I'm right there in it. Whether if it was in my house or outside. When people communicate, I was afraid to communicate. And I was traumatized. And it took me a long time to begin as an adult, like even now, really, to begin to address that and to identify, oh, okay, I never dealt with that wound. This is probably a reason why I'm so afraid of rejection, because rejection really ain't that bad. But in my life, when speaking and communicating goes wrong, it leads to tremendous humiliation in front of everybody, you know. And I can remember being a kid. It's the last story I'll tell, and then we'll wrap up. I can remember being about 6 years old. Now, mind you, my dad was never really around. So one day, and if you can relate to this, even if your dad, even though like your dad may not be around, well, I'll say for me, when my dad was never around, even if he only came around once in a year, I was so excited. You would think I would be mad because he was never there. I never would get like gifts or money. But when one time he came, it meant the world to me. Like it was an indescribable feeling I had. One day in the summer, it was summertime, south side of Chicago, Inglewood. My dad pulls up. He says, "Hey, son, come downstairs. I'm about to take you out." He would never take me out. So I remember, I'm like 6 years old. I go sit in the back seat of his car, and I'm just excited. Like, oh, I'm riding with my dad. And I never forget, my grandfather pulled up. Now, here's the thing about my grandfather. My grandfather forbidden my father to be around me. He banished him to be in my life because my father, who was a young father, at the time my father was probably 24, my father wasn't providing for me. My mom one day said, "Hey, your son needs some Pampers." My father's response was, "I can't give him Pampers because I have to take care of myself first." Well, my grandfather didn't like that. He said, "Oh, well, if you can't take care of this son or your son, then you're not going to be in this life." And my grandfather stood on that. He meant that. So this particular day, when I'm 6 years old in my father's car and my grandfather happened to pull up, oh, it went down. All I remember is my grandfather came out, and it was just a bunch of yelling. And I remember my father was like, "Wayne, get out the car. You can't go. I can't take you out." He was like, "Get out the car." And so I remember I got out the car, and all I hear was my mom's yelling. She's crying. She's running in the house. I hear my grandfather threaten to kill my father. He's like, I will shoot you right now. And I just remember literally the entire neighborhood, because it was the summertime. And in the 90s, in the summertime, this is before the internet. So everybody's outside. People aren't on the phones. People aren't in the house. They used to hang outside. That was the thing. Everybody, remember, and I stayed on the house with the block with 100 people on it. So all them people are now looking at my father, my grandfather threatening to kill my father, my mom running in the house, and now I'm being taken away. So I'm the level of humiliation that I feel, even though I didn't do anything wrong, but I'm getting all these people looking at me. I'm absorbing all this energy, and everybody just looking like I'm absorbing all of that embarrassment and humiliation. And that really, I cried myself to sleep. And so I say that to say that I was traumatized and never really addressed it and dealt with it within myself. And so this is a way that I'm hoping that my message and my experience can help you deal with some sort of scars or wounds or trauma that you may have. And I'm not saying that you need to deal with it the way that I'm dealing with it. You don't have to go publicly and say it and express it in this way. But that is the method that I'm taking, because it just comes, that's what the Spirit guided me to do. But you have to do what's right for you and express it, whether you write it down on a sheet of paper, burn the paper, address the person who traumatized you, whatever you need to do. So that way you can get over that and stop letting your past impact your future and where you're going. And you know that you're probably going through this if you're probably overcompensating in a specific area, or if you're just not confident and you being lazy trying to avoid conflict in a certain area. And that's what I would do. And it's funny because that's my profession. My profession is to speak publicly, yet my profession struggles because I haven't dealt with the trauma of being embarrassed and humiliated publicly my entire childhood. Back to back to back to back. Again, I could tell you dozens of stories when I would be humiliated with hundreds of eyes on me. And I'm the center. And I'm just absorbing all of this energy from these folks. And so I just want to address it, because I don't want to continue to let that stop me worrying about other people's opinion and what other people think, because that's what I've been focused on so much in my life. So, but anyway, I'm gonna I'm gonna give you that to think about. Chew on that. Hopefully that helps in some shape, form, or fashion. For you to take the next level, because we got to heal ourselves. I truly believe if we're going to be successful and reach our goals and dreams, and you're going to grow yourself, grow your business, grow your community, if you're going to do that, it starts with you healing yourself and being healthy. Mentally, physically, socially, emotionally, for the benefit of your whole family. With that being said, I want you guys to subscribe to this page. I also want you to make sure you get my book series, the Shut Up and Hustle series. This is right now I got 3 different editions. This is the very first one. Make sure you order this. Order one for you and a friend. This is a gift that keeps on giving, because you get to give yourself a new version of you growing. Self-awareness guide. All right, people, this is changing lives all over. Self-transformation right here for you, your family, your community. So get that, support yourself, also to community, and help me as well, because this is what I do. I don't do anything else. But anyway, I just want to tell you that, hey, keep on doing what you do, man. I got to roll. I know this video is kind of serious, kind of low. I like to normally keep it excited, keep it light. But I just wanted to get that off my chest because it just hit me. So hopefully it was for a reason. In fact, I know it was for a reason. So do something with it. In that order, place your order. I'm your hustling homie, your platform partner, Jackson 360. All about making things happen. Addicted to action. Hold on, let me do that again. Yeah, I'm your platform partner, your hustling homie, Jackson 360. All about making things happen. Addicted to action. Now pay yourself first and go flip it. In that order. Peace. I be hustling.